On my Instagram story a few days ago, I posted that the Steelers were going to win the Super Bowl this year. And it's this shorty that I've been talking to for the last couple of weeks that happens to be an Eagles fan that said that I don't know about that. And I was like, okay, if the Steelers aren't going to win the Super Bowl, then who is? She said the Chiefs, the Bills, the Packers, and still my team, the Eagles. And I had to be honest with her. I was like, listen, I like you a lot, but I got to tell you the truth. The Eagles are done. D.O.N.E. done. The Eagles are not going back to Super Bowl this year. And it's hard to gain the Dynasty label if you're unable to maintain the core components to what has made you a dominant team in the past. The Patriots and the Chiefs, why they've been able to become dynasties is, for one, they're able to maintain the core components on the coaching staff. They're able to maintain their OC and their defensive coordinators because those guys have already been failed head coaches. So you don't have to worry about Steve Spagnuolo or Matt Nagy leaving for head coaching jobs because they already been there, done that. And nobody's looking to make those guys head coaches again. So as coordinators, you never have to worry about losing them if you're Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. So you keep the camaraderie going. For the New England Patriots, Josh McDaniels and Matt Patricia were Bill Belichick's left and right-hand men. Every time the Patriots were in contention to win it all, they were on the staff. And when they weren't there. And when Josh McDaniels left New England for the Raiders head coaching job, that ended up being the demise of Bill Belichick. When the Eagles lost Shane Steichen and Jonathan Gannon in 2022, after they lost to the Chiefs in that Super Bowl that year, they fell off in 23 because their head coach whiffed on his coordinator hirings. And I do believe that Nick Sirianni is a really good coach. I think he's a really good CEO coach. He's a really good hype man, gets the players ready to play, and the guys seem to like him. But with him being a CEO coach, the team's success is heavily going to be dependent on the guys he brings in as his coordinators. And it's hard to continue to nail your coordinator hires year after year after year. It's already tough enough as it is to make one good coordinator hire. So to make two of them is even more difficult. So in 23, the Eagles end up falling off after they started 10-1 because the offense just completely was discombobulated along with the defense. So you end up bringing in Vic Fangio, and you end up hiring Kellen Moore as your offensive coordinator. And Kellen Moore is now the head coach of the New Orleans Saints. And Vic Fangio is still there. And Vic Fangio still is a really good defensive coordinator. But the defense hasn't been as good as what it was last year. And the offense has taken a step back with their new offensive coordinator, Kevin Patullo, being the scapegoat for Jalen Hurts' mediocre play. And Kevin Patullo is getting all the blame from Philadelphia Eagles fans for the shortcomings of the Eagles offense this year, when really they're just using him as a scapegoat to make excuses for Jalen Hurts' mediocre play. Eagles fans love to talk about Jalen Hurts being a Super Bowl MVP and how he's a quote-quote top 5 quarterback. But yet your Super Bowl MVP, your quote-quote top 5 quarterback, got outplayed by a rookie quarterback making his third start on a short week who was throwing to Wan'Dale Robinson and LaJordan Humphrey. Meanwhile, your Super Bowl MVP, your quote-quote top 5 quarterback, is overthrowing a wide-open Devontae Smith, throwing pick sixes, trying to throw out routes to Jahan Dotson with a flat corner when you had a wide open A.J. Brown for a touchdown. But Jalen Hurts didn't see him. Kevin Patullo isn't the one overthrowing wide open receivers. He's not the one who's only completing 35% of his passes, throwing the ball 10 yards or more to receivers. Kevin Patullo is only calling the plays. He's not the dude going out there and missing all these wide open receivers. But Eagles fans don't want to admit that Jalen Hurts is part of the problem for why this team has struggled. There's a reason why A.J. Brown has been disgruntled, and it's not because he's a drama queen. A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts don't like each other. That's been publicly known, and it's been well stated. So why are these guys still on the same team as each other? Somebody has to go. A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts cannot coexist. A.J. Brown, he got his bag, he got his ring, and now he wants his numbers. So therefore, trade him away and let him go get those numbers. You can't continue to be a championship team when you have guys that have a me before the team mentality like how A.J. Brown does. And keeping A.J. Brown around doesn't do anything but complicate things for Kevin Patullo and Jalen Hurts. A.J. Brown is a big personality and he's very vocal. And with everything that he has said to the media, it shows that he doesn't want to play for the Philadelphia Eagles no more because he knows that Jalen Hurts is a mid quarterback. Receivers are happy when the quarterback can get them the football. You never seen Jamar Chase throw Joe Burrow under the bus. You never seen Jamar Chase complain about his lack of involvement in the offense because Joe Burrow is actually an elite quarterback and not a forced top 5 quarterback like how Eagles fans forced Jalen Hurts to be a top 5 quarterback. I felt Jalen Hurts was a top 5 quarterback at one point because of his consistency. Jalen Hurts, you knew at one point, was not going to lose you games. Well, now Jalen Hurts is losing the Eagles games, and he's making some of the best receivers on the roster frustrated. Not only has A.J. Brown been frustrated with the lack of production from the passing attack, but also Devontae Smith. So if your 2 top receivers are unhappy, that's an indictment on who? The quarterback. But Eagles fans don't want to be honest about Jalen Hurts because they have to try to defend him because he's their quarterback. And I understand that. Completely get it. You can do a lot worse than Jalen Hurts. But let's not act like Jalen Hurts isn't part of the problem. Eagles fans want to put all of the offensive struggles on Kevin Patullo because it's easy to blame a new offensive coordinator than it is to blame a Super Bowl MVP, a quote-unquote top 5 quarterback who got outplayed by Jackson Dart on Thursday night. Jackson Dart is already a better quarterback than Jalen Hurts. I saw Jackson Dart outplay Jalen Hurts, a Super Bowl MVP, throwing the randos at receiver. Wan'Dale Robinson, LaJordan Humphrey. Meanwhile, on the opposite sideline, Jalen Hurts is overthrowing a wide-open Devontae Smith and throws a pick 6 when he had a wide-open A.J. Brown. And those 2 plays alone swung the game in the Giants' favor. So if Jackson Dart is outplaying Jalen Hurts with less talent, with a worse team around him, and Jalen Hurts is underperforming, getting outplayed by Jackson Dart, what does that say about Jalen Hurts? Yeah, Jalen Hurts is Super Bowl MVP, but that was last year. Super Bowl MVPs don't do anything for you right now. Ask A.J. Brown how he feels about Jalen Hurts Super Bowl MVP. I bet you he laughs. Because he doesn't look like a Super Bowl MVP right now. Doesn't look like a top 5 quarterback or even a top 10 quarterback at the moment. But yet, you still have Eagles fans that would still make excuses and still somehow try to justify Jalen Hurts as an elite quarterback. Try to justify that he's a top 3 quarterback. And of course, I'm going to go hard on Jalen Hurts because he effed that money up last week. He did, straight up. That loss was on Jalen Hurts. I don't care about the injuries. I don't care about who is out. I don't care about the defense underperforming. Because when you are a quote-unquote Super Bowl MVP and an elite quarterback, you're supposed to elevate your team. You should be able to overcome limitations. But we've been telling Eagles fans this for a while that Jalen Hurts doesn't have the ability to do that. He's a really good quarterback, not an elite quarterback, but apparently you're a hater for telling the truth about Jalen Hurts. You're not a hater for saying Jalen Hurts isn't a top 5 quarterback. You're just telling the truth that Eagles fans don't want to accept. Jackson Dart outplayed a Super Bowl MVP and a quote top 5 quarterback. I keep reemphasizing that point because I want Eagles fans to get this through their head that your Super Bowl MVP, your top 5 quarterback, got outplayed by a rookie QB with randos at receiver. Now, Jalen Hurts isn't the sole reason why the Eagles are about to unravel this year, because it's more issues than just him. Like, the play calling definitely is an issue. Kevin Patullo doesn't have a good game feel. He knows how the script plays up, but he doesn't know how to make adjustments. Either he's too reliant on the run or he's too overly reliant on the pass. He doesn't know how to play complementary football. And with the inconsistency from the offense, it has hindered Philadelphia defensively to where now Vic Fangio's defense has had a slight drop-off. They went from being 8th in the league in sacks to now 26th in sacks. The injury to Nolan Smith doesn't do them no favors, but they're not getting any production from any of the other edge rushers that they have on the team, and Vic Fangio doesn't blitz a lot. So if you can't get home with 4, then his defense gets put at a disadvantage. And the secondary hasn't been that good either. You still have Quinyon Mitchell, Quinyon Bay, and you do have Cooper DeJean, but the cornerback 2 that they have, whether that be Keely Ringo or Adoree Jackson, is not going to cut it. The Philadelphia Eagles should have kept Darius Slay. Darius Slay has been balling out for the Pittsburgh Steelers this year. Meanwhile, you're starting Adoree Jackson in the big 2025. I forgot all about Adoree Jackson. I forgot at one point he was one of the best players in college football. He was at one point one of the best young emerging corners in the NFL. And injuries have took a toll on Adoree Jackson, and that's why he now is far from the best version of himself. But if you're starting Adoree Jackson and Keely Ringo, who is a safety disguised as a corner, yeah, you deserve to get cooked in the secondary. I was telling people for years that Keely Ringo was a safety, and he never should have been playing corner. This dude got torched by Cedric Tillman a few years ago when Georgia played Tennessee. He doesn't have good agility. He doesn't have good lateral quickness. He's just a big, strong corner who can tackle very well, which means he's a safety. And I'm wondering when Vic Fangio is going to wisen up and move Keely Ringo to safety, because that's where he is better suited with his skill set at. He just doesn't have the agility or the speed to keep up with these receivers playing corner. And every time I see Keely Ringo on the field, he's getting cooked. Teams are running whoever offense on Keely Ringo, like Vic Fangio. Do something about that. Hy Roseman, do something about that. The Eagles are not going to Super Bowl this year. This is deja vu from 2023 all over again for the Eagles. You whiffed on your offensive coordinator hire. Jalen Hurts has regressed because he's only as good as the guy calling the plays. Hence why he had his best years with Shane Steichen and Kellen Moore, because those guys are really good offensive coordinators. And you see what Jalen Hurts has been when he hasn't had a good offensive coordinator at the helm calling the plays. He's been average, or some may say even worse.